Well, hey folks, welcome back to 57 Flavors. Since it's Halloween season, we're going to do another recipe out of Food to Die For by Amy Bruni. Collection of recipes from around the country, supposedly most haunted places, hotels, houses, etc., etc. The one we're going to do today is going to be croissant bread pudding. I love bread pudding. I love croissants. I've actually never had croissant bread pudding, so we're going to do this and show you how to do it. So this particular recipe is from the Myrtles, which is currently a bed and breakfast outside of New Orleans in a small town called St. Francisville, Louisiana. So the story with this is it's been called America's Most Haunted House. There's some story about a caretaker to the children that poisoned the children, and then they hung the caretaker, and her ghost is there. They've seen things as fingerprints on mirrors, photos of orbs and shadow figures, unseen people sitting on beds and rumpling sheets. Portraits in the house that people say the eyes follow them. So we're going to do the croissant bread pudding. I recommend you go get some good flaky croissants. Let them sit out for a day or two and let them get stale. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any locally, so I'm cheating, and I made a couple Pillsbury croissants a couple days ago, so we're going to be using those. So very easy recipe. Spray a large casserole dish with nonstick cooking spray. Tear the croissants into pieces and place them evenly in the bottom of the dish. In a medium bowl, mix the cream, milk, sugar, eggs, and vanilla and salt. Pour the cream mixture over the croissants and press the croissants down so they soak up the liquid. Pour the melted butter over the croissants, then cover it with plastic wrap and refrigerate for at least 2 hours. Remove the plastic wrap and bake at 325 for 45 minutes or until the custard is set. Remove the bread pudding from the oven and allow it to cool slightly before serving. So what we need is 8 to 10 croissants, 2.5 cups of heavy cream, a 3/4 cup of milk, 1.5 cups of sugar, 8 eggs, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, a half a teaspoon of salt, and 1 cup or 2 sticks of melted butter. So let's get started on this, shall we? So we're going to start with this pan. It's 13 by 9. Miss Hilton was kind enough to print that right on the bottom, and that's how I know. And so we're gonna break up our croissants and start just tossing them in the bottom there. Okay, so now let's make our custard. I'm just gonna start off with the eggs. And I've never been quite skilled at it, so I love those chefs that are able to, crack these open with one hand. All right, let me step away for a moment and wash my hands, because anytime I touch eggs, that's the first thing I do is wash my hands. You don't want to cross-contaminate or get some the gift that keeps on giving, salmonella. Hi, I'm back from washing my hands. I already pre-measured out our sugar, so I'm just going to put that in there. our vanilla. Our salt. Never make the mistake of measuring over your whatever it is you're making, because you spill it, now you're kind of messed up. So always measure over something else or over the counter. So now we're going to add the cream and the milk. Unfortunately, I don't have cream, heavy cream, so I do have a lot of half and half, so I'm just going to go ahead and use the half and half today, and we'll see how it turns out. I'm sure it'll be fine. I use half and half in a lot of recipes, particularly if it calls for milk. It gives it a little extra richness, in my opinion. So that's one. Two. And three. Okay. And we stir this up. I'm just going to use a good old-fashioned fork. I mean, you could use a mixer, I'm sure, but it's the middle of the night here. I'm trying not to wake up the dogs and the family. And you know, folks, I realized that I didn't spray the pan, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I will never claim I'm a professional at cooking. I just like to do it. It's just relaxing for me, and fond memories of being homesick as a kid and getting to watch The Price is Right with Grandpap, and watching the cooking shows that were on PBS and such at the time. So always have had a love for cooking, but nobody's perfect, right? So, but okay, got that sprayed up. Putting my croissants back in there. Just shake the pan there to get that evened out. My custard mixture, which is well mixed at this point. We're just going to go ahead and pour that over as per the instructions. Okay, and then I was doing the eggs, so I'm going to wash my hands again. And lastly, we need to melt our butter and put that on there. So through the magic of television and radar wave technology. We're gonna stick this in the microwave, melt it down, and then pour it on over. I really like the Irish butters. I like those a lot. Okay, let me step away and melt it. So I'll be right back. Okay, through the magic of television, I am back. I let this cool down for a few minutes. Number one, I don't want to burn myself touching it. The other issue is I don't want to accidentally cook my custard mixture by pouring hot butter on it. So, but I think it's pretty much lukewarm at this point. So I'm just gonna go ahead and follow the directions and just pour this right on top. Okay, alrighty then, that is done. So now we just put our plastic wrap on it and toss it in the refrigerator. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm probably going to just let it sit overnight and pop it in tomorrow for dinner. So also it'd be nice to make like a rum sauce for this, and I think I might do that. I'm not sure if I'm going to have time to film it, but we'll see what happens tomorrow. Thanks, and we'll be back tomorrow and I'll show you the end results. Good night. All right, folks, we're back to the bread pudding. It was in the refrigerator overnight, just got it out. The instructions are to bake this at 325 for 45 minutes. Since it was in the refrigerator overnight, it's probably gonna take a little longer, but I'm gonna put this in now. And we'll see you in 45 minutes. All right, folks, this is the end result of the croissant bread pudding. I'm gonna let that cool, slice it. Well, hey kids, welcome back. As you know, we made that bread pudding last night, and I just really feel that it's missing the rum sauce, so I'm gonna go ahead and make that now. I did get a recipe from allrecipes.com. and this is going to complement that bread pudding. So the recipe calls for a half a cup of sugar, 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 cup of milk, in this case I'm going to substitute half and half, and 3 tablespoons of white or dark rum. In this case I'm going to use my Captain Morgan spiced rum for that. So real easy recipe. It calls to start with melting the 2 tablespoons of butter and a saucepan. This is my favorite saucepan. I don't think they sell these anymore, but Emerald Lagasse had a line of cookware for a while, and this thing is phenomenal. As you can see, that bottom is super thick and really retains the heat. So I've got that already on my medium heat. So we're going to start with the 2 tablespoons of butter that I've already measured out. don't want to cook that butter, we just want to melt it really. Set that aside for a moment. Next it calls to mix the cornstarch and the sugar together. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And that was 1 tablespoon of cornstarch. Remember, never measure over your your mixing bowl. Wants us to go ahead and mix that in with the butter. Just mix that together, get that a little bit uniform. And then we can go ahead and pour in our, in this case, our half and half. All right, folks, we are finally at a boil, and particularly at the boil stage, you want to continuously stir this. And that cornstarch is going to begin to activate at its temperature and begin to thicken this liquid, and that's exactly what we want. We want to wait until this thickens. It's only going to take about a minute or two. Once you get this to a boil, you can turn your heat down a little bit. You don't want to overdo it. Again, you do not want to accidentally burn this. And once it's to the consistency and thickness that you want, you can go ahead and turn off that heat. And then you want to put in your 3 tablespoons of rum, which I've already measured. And you just want to stir that in. Now, if you stir this in while it's still boiling and hot, of course that alcohol is going to boil off. So if you have friends, family members that don't like the idea of alcohol, you can go ahead and boil that off. If you prefer to have that alcohol left in, then I would let this cool before mixing in that rum. And here we go, folks. You can see what that looks like. And once that begins to cool, that's going to get thicker as well. So let's set that aside, let that cool for a while, and then plate your bread pudding, drizzle that on top, and you're good to go. All right, we'll see you back shortly for the actual plating of the dish. All right, folks, and here we have the completed product. We have the croissant bread pudding with the rum sauce. And if you really want to set this off, I recommend a side of vanilla ice cream. And for those of you who like bread pudding, Raglan Road, the Irish restaurant in Disney Springs down in Orlando, really has a phenomenal bread pudding. They serve it in like a crock with, and they give you the rum sauce and a vanilla sauce that's separate. But As you can see, it's pretty easy to make at home. So give that a shot. And please comment, like, subscribe. Let me know what you think about the recipe. Let me know if there's anything that you would like me to make. And I hope you all enjoy. And my prescription is have 2 servings of this and call me in the morning. Thanks. Bye-bye.